So you had like the conflicting feeling of like, what if people are creepy versus what if nobody wants to fuck us?
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from across the entire spectrum of non-monogamy to hear their fascinating stories. We strive to bring guests on the show who have a healthy approach to non-monogamy. However, it's important to remember that everyone does it a little bit differently, and the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we produce this show for entertainment purposes only. Please be aware that we aren't doctors or therapists. Consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 78. We're Finn and Emma. And today we have an interview with Michelle and Orlando.
Yeah, some friends of ours who I think we met them at Desire. I don't know. They might mention it.
We might mention Desire in this episode.
However, it is not a paid advertisement for Desire. And I will say this, though. It is a very good episode, a very good conversation about getting into the lifestyle, because this was really their first major thing that they did in the lifestyle was going to a resort. So if you're thinking about doing that, whether it's Desire or Temptation or Hedo, it's a great resource for that. And it's also a really fantastic resource for anything STI related. There's some fantastic conversations around that. And yeah, it's great.
Yeah. No, we're so thankful that they were willing to come on the show and be vulnerable with us, as with all of our guests. So thank you to them. And a couple quick announcements.
Well, one thing real quick, sorry to interrupt you. I know I do it every week, but while we're talking about Desire, I just wanted to mention that we are not going this year. And I think earlier we mentioned that we were planning to, but for anybody who was booking because we were going, I apologize.
Sorry.
We're not going to be there, which it breaks our hearts. And but we aren't able to go this year. So we will find other ways to see everybody. You'll see.
I know, we feel really sad about that and are very disappointed. But
okay, no more interrupting. You talk.
Well, I was actually going to have that be my first announcement. So
well, then I feel even worse for interrupting.
So, yeah, we're not going to be at Desire this year. However, we will be... Oh, and by the way, Finn was referencing Desire, the Life on the Swing Set takeover specifically, which is in November. It's an awesome takeover. If you're interested in going, check that out. There's links in the show notes. I just had to plug that real quick. We will not be there, but lots of other amazing people will be there.
Even though Cooper doesn't pay us to say that.
No.
He could, though, if he wanted to.
Anyway, other announcements. Foam Party in Ohio, August 10th, Saturday.
This Saturday?
Yeah.
Like
in a few days.
3 days from now, we will be in the Foam.
Yeah, so we will be there. It's Club Euphoria. Links in the show notes if you want to check it out. We'd love to meet any of you there.
Actually, all of you.
All of you.
Not just any of you.
Yeah, true.
All of you.
Any, and all. Next is for our patrons. On our next Q&A session will be on...
live video Q&A.
Okay, I was ready for you to interrupt me. That's why I stopped.
I didn't if you stopped before I talked, then it wasn't an interruption.
Anyway, August 21st at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We realize that this is a Wednesday, and apologize for being in the middle of the week, but hopefully you can take a little midweek break and come chat with all of us.
Yeah, we're going to do some of these. We're going to mix it up, change the day, change the time. So we're hoping to do one on like a Sunday, so maybe it can pick up more people. And yeah, we're just going to kind of move them around. And we had last time, we had 10 people, maybe a little more than 10 people come in and chat. We talked for a little over an hour. It was awesome. So if you're interested, look into it.
Yeah, check out our Patreon page. Also, you can find us at our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com or nnmpodcast.com. On our website, there are lots of resources on the resources page, including STI information, if you want that, if you're looking for that, and information about our Patreon, and of course, all our episodes. So...
I think that's pretty much...
And you can contact us. Geez. That's it. You can contact us on our website.
Actually, you should contact us. You can leave us a voicemail without disclosing your phone number.
Yes. Or write us an email.
Yeah. Okay. You can text Emma
No.
No, you can't text Emma.
I'm not quite willing.
That's the $50 Patreon.
I'm not
level.
quite willing to give out my phone number yet.
All right, let's go listen to what Michelle and Orlando have to say.
Yeah, let's go.
So we have
Orlando and Michelle.
friends, real life friends.
Real life friends.
We exist.
that met us, that we met them at Desire Swing Set Takeover 2018.
Yes, just last year.
So they're alumni, just
Now
like we are.
Yeah.
Now, that was our first year.
And
At Desire.
didn't get emotional at all? No.
No, there was definitely no crying for the last day and a half.
Oh no,
That's
that doesn't
perfect.
happen.
Mm-mm. No,
Excellent. All right. Well, I didn't mean to throw you under the bus off the
it's okay. I'm
right off the
not
starting
ashamed of
gate
my
here.
tears.
They're happy tears because you had such a wonderful week and amazing people, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, big time.
Well, we were at a point where I didn't know if we were going to be able to come back or not, so it was really tough to meet all these wonderful people and not know if that was going to be my only chance. But by the time we got home, we're like, yeah, we're booking again.
Oh yeah.
Well, in a week seems like a long time, but it also goes by very quickly.
Yeah, it's definitely both of those feelings.
Yes.
Well, for anybody who wasn't there with us all,
I know.
do you mind telling the listeners a little bit about each of you to get us started?
Now I'm nervous. Drinking this wine.
There's no reason to be nervous.
So I guess, I don't know, start from the beginning of our relationship. We met in culinary school.
Correct. In college, I was
In college.
I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
She was 19. She picked me off,
I did. I was like, that one. Keeping him.
and we both fell in love and dropped out together.
We did.
So
School's expensive.
yeah. So moved into a few different jobs and ended up with the jobs we're at now.
Yeah, we work together still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We spend every minute we can together.
Yeah. We're one of those gross couples.
Yeah.
If it makes you happy.
Yep.
In your, I'm going to guess
Oh, you're not.
early 30s.
Yes, I just turned 33.
I'm 32.
All right. Nailed
Awesome.
it.
I know sometimes your guesses are not good.
Yeah. I always
I know,
guess-
I get so nervous when I hear you do that when we're listening. I'm like, oh God, he's going to offend them.
Yeah. And how long have you been together then? It sounds like quite a while.
14?
14.
Well, they met when
14
they were
and-
18 and 19.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Well, he didn't want to do the math.
I just know some of our listeners are driving. They can't get out their calculators.
Yeah, right.
True. Okay.
Now I'm hoping that number's correct.
Yeah,
If
I
not,
know now we're
it's
gonna look
like-
stupid if it's
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, well, no one will fact check this.
No.
And
We have a window for our anniversary
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
like, it's around here somewhere.
Yeah.
It's in April,
sometime.
Well, then you celebrate for the whole month. That's not a bad thing.
basically.
Yeah.
Well, because our dating anniversary and our wedding anniversary are pretty close together,
Yeah.
so we just pick one around there.
Whatever
And-
works.
in your non-monogamy anniversary, wow, that's a lot. You shouldn't say that.
Isn't this always such a hard question to answer though? Because it's like, what do you count as the start?
Right.
Well, when did the conversation start, or how did it start?
It started.
With you having me listen to Dan Savage, and then later Life on the Swing Set
Right. Yeah.
before we did anything.
Yeah.
Because our communication, early on we were young, and this is probably both my second serious-ish relationship, because I
Right.
was in a long-term relationship before you, but it was, a high school one. So both of our, for real time, big kid relationship, dealing with emotions and living with someone, and, there's a lot of communication skills that we didn't had to
Right.
learn.
And listening to Savage Love and having just a discussion around any of those topics.
Anything sex was hard for me at
Yeah.
the beginning.
Yeah. So that's how we grew.
Was it
And,
it pretty early on after you started dating?
Yes.
Maybe 4 or 5 year mark. We were living out at
About that.
we were living out at the farm at the time, so that was probably about 4-ish years in.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And but we don't really consider ourselves starting in anything non-monogamy until about August, September
Officially?
of last year,
Yeah.
2018. And we went to a gamers greet a couple hours away, and we met a bunch of folk up there and just started, socializing with people.
Mm-hmm.
And we eventually, a month later, had a date with the host couple who were, fantastic, and we just chatted with them the whole night.
And for listeners who don't know what that is, can you explain?
It was just like a local people meeting and playing like tabletop games that are in like the lifestyle, and they all knew each other. I think we were the only people there who weren't like a, part of that core group already.
Yeah.
But it was a more welcoming, kind of low-key way of meeting some people where there weren't really any expectations of anything happening.
So it's a mix of nerdy games and lifestyle?
Yeah, well, It's like lifestyle people, but at least by the time we left, everyone's clothes were still on. I don't know what happened after that.
Right, yeah.
But it's lifestyle adjacent to...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's very cool. We didn't know something like that existed.
Yeah, I guess they do it, every few months or so, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one going on.
We haven't been back because it just hasn't worked out.
Yeah. Our schedules are pretty crazy.
Yeah, they were nice people. I'm glad we went.
So hold on. You did that in August, and then you were in Mexico at Life on the Swing Set Takeover in November.
November.
That's some acceleration.
Well, yes, however, they had been talking about it for...
We'd been planning for
like
the Desire trip for a long time. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
We talked about the Desire trip for many years before we finally went, and we did do a trip to Temptation.
Right.
Several years ago. God, that was probably 6 years ago at this point.
I think more than that.
Oh, God.
Let's call it
that's where we found out about Desire. Because
Okay.
we went there knowing it was just like a fun party atmosphere and that it was top optional.
Right.
And that we thought that would be fun and kind of adventurous for where we were at that point in our lives. And then things got a little wild one night. Too many drinks.
Right.
On the dance floor, and the staff kind of shut us down. We're like, you can't do that here. You need to go to Desire. We're like, what's that?
So
Is there a free shuttle?
I look it up later and I'm like, oh, this place seems cool.
Yeah.
And then eventually when I found Life on the Swing Set podcast, they were talking about Desire too. And I was like, well, maybe we should go this vacation.
We started listening to that. There was, of course, the probably stereotypical reaction that I had of like, how dare you, when he first like brought it up, like feeling vulnerable and kind of like offended, like, what, am I not enough? And then like I would start actually listening to the podcast and being like, oh, that's not what it's about at all. And like it kind of helps you put that, I don't know, put your feelings into a little bit more rational terms.
Well, that's why I was kind of curious. So way back, I guess 8-ish years ago, you brought up to her that you were curious about some of this stuff. I guess how did you react to all of that? And then like how did it grow over the next...
Orlando or Michelle?
Yeah, Michelle, how did you react to hearing that? And like how did the conversation grow over the next couple of years? Because like you said, that can be kind of destabilizing.
Yeah, I definitely remember having an initial kind of offended, hurt reaction for sure. Just coming from a, I don't know, emotionally immature place, I feel like. And, feeling precious about your relationship and like that whole like, oh, that means I'm not enough. That like way monogamy society teaches you to feel about your relationship. That person's supposed to be everything to you. And you're not supposed to need any other sources to fulfill you. Which, now that just sounds crazy, but kind of that reaction. But then, he like subscribed to the podcast on my phone, I think. And it was just like, I'm just going to put it on here. And I would like it if you would listen to it. It would like mean a lot to me if you would listen to it. And I it sat there and I looked at it on my phone for probably a good month before I finally like accepted starting to listen to it. And
that was just Savage Love Cast, or was that Life on the Swing Set?
No, Savage Love we've been listening to for a while at that point. I'm talking about Life on the Swing Set now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Savage Love definitely gave us some communication skills to even build up to this other topic.
Yeah.
So
we started with that. It gets printed in our weekly newspaper here.
Yeah, our local newspaper.
Yeah.
The Stranger, or not his column.
Yeah.
And it's the Eugene Weekly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Eugene Weekly here in and so they have a link to the podcast. So I found that, and then we just stepped from there.
Yeah. So it's definitely Savage Love for a few years, and then the other one came along. And I was just listening to that for a while, and then kind of did that thing where I would listen, and then I would digest it and like decide whether I agreed or disagreed, and then I would kind of come back to him when I was ready and be like, okay, so they talked about this, and like here's the aspects of what was discussed that I agree with and don't agree with, or that like, I concurred emotionally with.
Right.
And that helped us have words.
Yeah.
But we definitely didn't have like an outlet as far as like any of the dating sites or anything like that. We tried FetLife, but to be honest, I got spooked off of it pretty quick because it was just a lot of really aggressive, abusive men on there. And that's all the people I got reaching out to what was clearly a joint profile, but I was being treated as like a piece of meat on there by, these really aggressive, crappy men.
And our profile picture was both of us too.
Yeah, everything on there communicated there was two of us, but whatever. So I got spooked off of that pretty quick and just haven't really had any inclination to go back since.
And on Orlando's side, like where were you hoping it would take the two of you when you brought it up?
I just wanted a more clear line of communication about sex with her.
Yeah.
And I could see her budding bisexuality. And
yeah, I feel like you knew about that before I did.
Yeah. I just wanted to be able to talk about it.
So did my mom.
Right.
I remember her asking me if I was a lesbian when I was in middle school. I was like, no.
And, listening to Savage Love, I'm like, well, there's ways we could probably explore this.
Right. Yeah.
Whatever form that takes.
I think you knew early on that I was like, I wanted to be sexually adventurous. Like, I had these interests that I would like covertly hint at.
Right.
But that I like wasn't openly talking about or like open to actually following through on.
So it wasn't initially like, I hope we get to have a threesome or I'm hoping to get into swinging. It was just, you wanted to start the conversation with Michelle about opening up sexually, even just between the two of you.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Just being more comfortable.
I think at that time we had done a few random...
Yeah, we definitely had a history there for a few years of like getting drunk with friends and like naked fun would happen, but like there was no communication around it, like before, during, or after.
Yeah, which is,
with anyone, not just between us, but like with everyone involved, like nobody wanted to acknowledge that it happened.
Yeah.
And like it was fun, but it's like that's clearly missing a layer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after a while, it's like, well, let's just find people we can chat with about this, whether we play with them or not.
Yeah. That was a big thing I was missing in my life that I was looking for in doing this, is finding people that I could like be myself around, because I could tell around all our vanilla friends pretty much I would just make jokes or make innuendos or comments, and it would clearly make people uncomfortable. I'm like, really? That's where your line is?
Yeah.
That was a mild one.
Yeah.
So you went from Dan Savage to some Life on the Swing Set podcasts. You went to some sexy gaming night.
Well, and it sounds like really working on your communication and some drunken exploring with friends. But I'm sure, when you did those drunken exploring with friends, did you two talk about it together? I know you said not among other people, but
a little. It was mostly you trying to like pry open my shell to talk about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And me reluctantly trying to talk about it, but like not knowing how I felt about it a lot of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you said you had been talking about going to Desire with Life on the Swing Set.
Right.
I think, and actually we've gotten this question a handful of times just via email, which is like, hey, we're brand new to this. Is it too crazy for our first experience to be going to Desire?
No, it's not.
So, yeah, I mean, do you mind elaborating on that? Talk a little bit about like what it's like for your first real like dive into swinging to be something as intense as Desire or a group takeover.
So I would say if Desire is going to be your first trip, I definitely recommend going with the swing set takeover specifically, because my experience versus what I've heard other people say about being at Desire during different times of the year, you're going to have fun anytime you go, but there is a higher degree of consent awareness and queer inclusiveness during the week that we are there.
I would second that.
Yeah.
from my understanding and what we've heard.
But and leading up to it, like, had you two talked about like, okay, well, we've never presumably never done like a official soft swap or full swap or anything like official, if there is such a thing, in the lifestyle, and now you're going to do this. Like, did you talk about what you wanted to get out of it and how you wanted to approach it and what?
Okay, I feel like I need to fill in one little gap in the story, which is we did at this point, have one set of friends that we had kind of a regular naked fun time happen with.
Right.
It'd be like once a year or so because they don't live very close. But we did play with them a handful of times.
Yeah.
But it did definitely still fall within that range of like not a whole lot of communication happening.
Right.
And it came to an end for reasons that I'm not going to share. But we're still friends, just with pants on now. And so we have soft and full swapped with only them.
But leading up to Desire. So you weren't.
Yeah.
It wasn't like this was going to be your first time ever possibly seeing
Right.
the other person with somebody else.
No.
Okay. It's still a big step though. I mean, to go from like an annual hookup to Well,
because they were friends and we've been friends with for years. So like there was a level of trust there, even if like the sex stuff didn't get communicated on as much as it should have. There was definitely a level of like, we're still friends though. Like there's something more solid to this than just like, hey, how you doing? Let's bone.
Yeah.
So
I'd known her for 10 years before that, I think.
Yeah.
So what did the build up to that week look like then for you two in terms of getting the communication up to speed and talking about what you were how the week was going to look for you? Like what were you hoping to get out of it?
We definitely tried to talk about and cover like if there was anything that each of us really wanted to experience, and if there were any things that we definitely needed to make sure we didn't do that we weren't ready for.
Right.
Or how to handle scenarios we were worried would come up, which to be honest, I don't think any of those did come up.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But
yeah, I remember when we first met, you did say you had some concerns about coming because you didn't know what it was going to be like, right?
I was worried it would feel really predatory and that I have to be like, I'm not trying to be conceited, but like just being a female, I was worried that there would be a lot of like approaches I would not be into, you know, that feel skeezy or predatory or like, you know, like the typical guy approaching a girl at a bar and she's like not into it kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Right.
Which didn't happen at all, to be clear.
So what were maybe some of the other things that you were worried about going in? Because I think it helps other people who have never been to something like that or who are thinking about getting into this to hear what, like, you're still here, you're still doing it, presumably, and you probably had some of the same fears as other people, and it maybe would help to hear what some of those were, besides being preyed on.
That was I was worried about feeling safe, and I guess that's still kind of the same thing, but I was worried about feeling safe, and we were worried about being away from each other, losing track of each other was a big concern.
Right.
We hadn't played separately at that point, like in any way.
Right. Which happened the first night.
Well,
Okay, so the first night you played separately after.
Kind of. It was Sunday night. And
yeah, because we arrived late on Saturday.
Yeah, someone I had my eye on from the chat had kind of been paying me attention towards the end of the night, and I was like, well, this is fun. And like that escalated into some hot tub bed fun. Right. And you lost track of the person you were spending some time with and couldn't find her again because they turned all the lights off for the stargazing and you couldn't find her after that.
We were in the hot tub.
And that was one of the things we hadn't talked about. It's like, what if one of us has an opportunity to play and the other one doesn't? Because that didn't occur to me. Mm-hmm. And so I just came over and checked in before, we got busy, and you were like, it's fine. I was like, are you sure?
Yep.
Are you sure? I must have asked like 17 times. You're like, go.
Well, and so that you said that wasn't something you talked about leading up to it. I guess, had you even thought about it, Orlando?
No, I hadn't.
Either of you.
That there would be a situation where like both halves of the couple wouldn't be there. Like, I don't know why. It seems so stupid and obvious now that I've been there and I've seen the environment where everybody just kind of goes and mingles because a lot of us all know each other already. Mm-hmm. So you feel safe enough to do that kind of thing. But like being new, it just didn't even occur to me that people would be not hip to hip with their partner at all times.
Yeah.
Because that's how we are in normal life.
I know, so we are most of the time.
So I guess how was that experience for you then? Like, again, it was kind of something new and it happened super early on. Did it change?
Did it rock the boat at all, or was everything, did you feel good about it?
That was breathtaking. Miss you, handsome.
Yeah, he probably knows who he is if he's listening.
Yeah. No, very charming human, very wonderful, both of them.
Yeah, they're great people.
Which we did connect again with later in the week, which was fun.
Right. And I think you and I talked about what happened that night, and we were both very...
Yeah, we talked about it after, and we were like, no, that was okay. Like, not a deal. It would have been cool if you had someone to play with at the same time, too. Like, I'm sure that would have been preferable, but it wasn't, like, devastating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did it open up the two of you to new, different experiences that week that you hadn't... Like, this one was one you hadn't considered. Did it open the door to things that you hadn't considered then moving forward?
I feel like I'm being led into admitting that we went to an orgy.
Well, no. I wasn't trying to lead into that. I guess maybe a better question is, what?
That was the first of many firsts for us.
It was. We had a lot of firsts.
Yeah.
I did. I feel like I did kind of open the gates of, like, this is a safe space to explore some things that, like, outside of the feeling that I have here, I would not want to do.
Right.
So...
Well, maybe a better question is, leading into the week, what were some of the things that both of you or either of you were hoping to experience that you hadn't up to that point?
I think we were really hoping to make friends.
Yeah, because we don't really have anyone out here.
I think something we kept saying to each other over and over again, especially as the week got closer, is like, if we go and we only fuck each other, we're gonna have a great vacation.
Yeah.
Which is an awesome attitude to go into it with, because then it takes the pressure off.
Exactly.
Right.
So you had, like, the conflicting feeling of, like, what if people are creepy versus what if nobody wants to fuck us? You have, like, both those feelings at the same time of, like, oh crap, what if nobody's interested? Like, that would be equally devastating.
Well, it sounds like that wasn't the case.
No.
I don't think so.
Don't think so.
And thankfully people weren't creepy either. Hopefully
No, they weren't at all.
Not even slightly.
Even me, sometimes I can get a little...
Sometimes.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh. I even had a moment, I feel like it was a real, like, eye-opening moment that I look back on with, like, a lot of, like, lovey feelings in my heart, was, like, the first time we, like, chose to be in separate places at the resort.
Right.
You went to take a nap, or you were hiding in the room from the mosquitoes?
I was hiding.
You were hiding in the room from the mosquitoes, and I didn't want to be in the room. I still had a lot of energy, and I wanted to, like, go be social. So I was like, how'd you feel if I went to the hot tub? I won't play, but I just want to go hang out in the hot tub and be social.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, okay, yeah, let's see how that feels. So, I did, and when I got up there, first thing I did was get in the hot tub and walk right up to, like, 3 or 4 guys that were standing there talking to each other, and just started talking to 4 men that were basically strangers to me.
So you were you were the predator.
No, sure. No, I'm just saying it's pretty phenomenal to feel safe enough to do that.
Yeah.
I think you definitely played with all those men.
I can't remember everyone that was there. I definitely remember 2 of the people that were there.
No, I think that does say a lot, though, about the quality of people. And again, to be clear, this is not a, like, paid commercial by Life on the Swing Set.
Or by desire.
It was a formative event for the two of you, and I think it's important to talk about what you got out of it. And if that's something that came out of that was your ability to have the confidence and comfortability to just walk up and start talking to people, whether it was men or women, and not have to worry about your safety, and on Orlando's side to not even have to worry about what was going on with her while she was gone.
Mm-hmm.
I think that says a lot.
Yeah.
So
It's huge.
The level of eye contact is surprising, because you think in your head, if you've never been somewhere where a lot of people are naked, you would assume that everyone's leering, I guess. But everyone makes a lot of eye contact.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
I spend most of my time looking up, like, up at the sky, like, trying not to look at boobs.
Are you stargazing?
Yeah, I stargaze all day long.
You have to make, like, surreptitious little, like, glances. You have to not get caught.
Yeah. So after your week, first, is there anything else, like, monumental from that week that you wanted to share?
Yeah, what else happened? We're nosy perverts.
We were also there.
Well, we did go to an orgy, which we didn't. That's another thing we hadn't talked about because it didn't occur to us that might happen.
Right. So when we got an invite to one, I think we took a hot 5 minutes.
And we both just, like, took a few deep breaths and looked at each other like, are we going to do this?
Yeah. Like, well, all these people are going.
Oh yeah, and then we got like the list of like everyone that was going to be at it, and we were like, oh, those are all people we would like to be naked with.
Yeah.
So
we just kind of jumped in.
yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't that hard of a decision to at least try. I mean, the worst case, hopefully in the right situation, like you'd feel comfortable leaving if you didn't want to be there. So
yeah, which we did have one instance of that over the week too, and it wasn't like a big deal, but we had a moment where like we need to step out.
Yeah.
So, and it, whatever. It was no big deal. Got out. We went back to our room, talked about it, got some sleep. No big deal.
Yeah. And that's good because that's what you need to do. You need to take care of yourself and your relationship.
You have to address. Like I said, you take a minute, see if the feeling passes. If it doesn't pass, you're like, okay, this something needs to be addressed. Let's go. Let's just step out and do that.
Right.
Don't let it fester so long that you get, angry to the point of not being able to communicate.
Yeah, for sure. Well, after that big diving into the deep end of the swinging, so to speak, the easy question is like, are you still doing it and all that stuff? And we can get there, but how did your relationship change, like, in the weeks and months following, like, this monumental achievement? I'll call it an achievement. You got your orgy badge.
So, is it kind of an everyone gets a trophy type of event? Literally.
Get a participation.
You get the card.
We definitely, I feel like going in, because we talked about this today, I felt like going in, we felt like we were really good communicators, and I think that for monogamous people, we were really good communicators.
By monogamous standards.
We listened to all the podcasts, we thought we knew all the things, and that we had covered all the bases, but a lot of stuff comes up that you would never conceive of.
Right.
That you don't know until it happens.
Right.
You know how you're going to feel about something until you're in it. Mm-hmm. So we definitely came home and had some more deeper conversations about the things that actually happened versus what we thought would happen, and how we felt about it all, and how we needed to maybe potentially do things a little differently going forward, like communicate a little bit more clearly, because we thought we were doing well, but like the resulting feelings maybe didn't reflect that. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely some points. One major point I don't think I might be mentioning, when we were on the trip, we didn't really connect physically with each other much during that week.
Right.
Like
we,
at all.
Yeah. We were socializing so much.
We were so sidetracked and distracted by all the new fun people that we just, by the time we got back to our room, we were exhausted and we just didn't reconnect physically. And I think that was a mistake. I wouldn't say resentment, but I think it definitely built up some sad feelings. By the time we got home, we were just kind of like feeling a little bad.
Yeah.
In that regard. Yeah. So that's something I think we need to do better and do differently. And that I recommend if it's your first time going on something like that, definitely take some time to reconnect with your partner.
Yeah.
It's more important.
Definitely important.
Than you think. And it builds over the longer days you go without doing it, the worse it's going to be.
For sure, yeah.
So
we did spend some time on the beach bed together.
We did.
Which was lovely.
That was nice.
And if you pick the furthest bed out, then there's relatively no one out there.
Yeah, there is opportunities there to have privacy and not necessarily be in your room, which is nice.
Yeah, unless somebody walks by on a fucking beach
from another resort.
Yeah. Not that that's ever happened to my wife, but.
Alex was definitely.
That was awkward.
Orlando was going down to me on one of the beach beds early on in the trip, and some people from one of the other resorts were walking by, and you can tell because they're fully clothed.
Yeah.
And they look shocked. Yes. And they just did a U-turn at the other
one. And then you saw them in the lobby checking in, like, this place looks cool.
Yeah.
They're like, well, I wasn't.
I can relate to that. I had a somewhat similar experience that was embarrassing.
Yeah.
That will go in a different episode.
I'm not ready to tell that right now.
So, yeah, well, I guess then maybe it leads into the question of ways that you've seen your relationship, positively impacted since you've gotten into this, and maybe if there's been some negative impacts that you've seen as well.
Right. Mostly see the positive impacts of it, because we're more communicative with each other during sex now, like about what we want of each other, because we've fallen into grooves before this, and we
those long-term relationship patterns where you kind of path the least resistance each other without really noticing.
Right.
So, like, you learn the way that works to get along with your partner on a day-to-day basis, and to, like, and then in the bedroom, like, you kind of have your same pattern of, like, this is what works, this will get the job done, and then we can go to sleep.
Yeah, the tried and true.
You know?
Whereas when you have new partners, you got to communicate all that stuff kind of on the fly.
Yeah.
And you just bring that to our personal lives.
That's a good point. I didn't even, like, think of it that way, but we definitely have been doing that way more. We've gotten a lot more sex toys since we've been back, too.
That's a fun benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we already had some, but we bought, like, better ones.
Yeah. And do you see anything changing moving forward? I mean, you already mentioned you signed up this year to go back to Desire, but...
For sure. I mean, we're on Cassidy now. We got on Cassidy when we knew we were going on the trip, because we want to be able to talk to people that were going and, like, get to know them. We haven't reached out to people much on there. There's really not a ton of people, like, directly in our area, because it's a pretty small town, so we have to go a couple hours away to get to where there actually are some people.
Yeah, there's one couple about 40 minutes away from us.
They reached out to us, and we clicked, and we've hung out with them a few times. They're a treat.
Bringing them on the trip this year.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We recruited them to go this year. It's very exciting. We're actually going to be on the same flights to and from, so that'll be nice.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. That's amazing. Yeah. It's always fun to bring friends, and and you're like, and then they get what you're talking about too. Right?
Yeah.
Right. Or it's your fault if they don't have a good time.
That's awesome.
No pressure though. No pressure at all.
Right.
Nah, they're gonna click really well with everybody. They're sweet as pie.
Oh yeah.
Well then, I have another question that's, you're gonna think it's a lead into something else, but it's not. Are there things that you have now experienced in the last, since November, inclusive of the trip, that you never thought you would experience in life, that you got to experience or got to see your partner experience, that have really just been transformative for you? I'm talking about sex at this point.
Right.
Thanks for the clarification.
Just wanted to clue you in.
I mean, we definitely never, like, considered going to an orgy. That was definitely, I think that falls in that category.
Have you been to one since?
Yeah.
No. The only people we've connected with since the trip are people that were on the trip, and then that one couple we just talked about.
Okay.
Right.
So we're really not, like, crazy active, to be honest. It's, like, less than once a month.
Okay. But I mean, I think that's another good thing to point out, is that a lot of people think that, like, in order to be in the lifestyle, you have to, like, do it every week. Or
yeah, you have to, like, you gotta be fucking somebody every weekend. No, not at all. Like, we made plans with, like, 2 other couples that we met on the trip. One, we went and visited them. It was amazing. We had a wonderful time. One couple came and visited us only 2 weeks later, which was wild.
Yeah.
That was a lot. And we had just a blast with them over at the coast. And so...
So for you two, it's make really good connections, and when you can, take advantage of those connections, that's when you do it. You're not constantly out at clubs.
It's like, it's the really pretty edible garnish on the plate. It's not, dinner every night.
Right. Yeah. So one thing we chatted about a little bit before, first off, did you have any other follow-up questions?
No.
You sighed like you did.
No.
So one thing the 4 of us chatted a little bit about is STI discussions, and something that we always like to talk about, and we, as you saw at Desire, we do talk about that with other with people we meet as well, and just having that open conversation. So I wanted to bring up the topic and have a general discussion, because I know that it's not always easy to bring up. And how have you both handled that? Or first off, maybe I should say, did you have any fears about it? Or was it like something you were, scared of being...
Well, I think that's a big fear a lot of people have when they get into this. The first thing they say is like, we're going to get tons of diseases.
Right.
And I think that's the immediate place people go with it. And so being able to talk about it and hear how you two felt about it, and how you feel about it now, maybe differently than in August of last year.
Something we were just talking about today at lunch is just how the difference of the attitude toward getting tested outside the lifestyle versus in it, at least the people in the lifestyle were around, is that when you're not in the lifestyle, it seems like Yeah, so outside the lifestyle, it seems like you could be sleeping around, being single, doing what, people do, dating around, whatever. And you're not going to think of getting tested unless something goes wrong.
Right.
If you see a symptom, then you'll go get tested. But otherwise, you'll just, I don't know, cross your fingers and assume everything's fine. And I know not everyone, blah, 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 of course. But it does seem to be the general, like, societal concept of being tested, that it's there if something's wrong.
Right.
Whereas in the lifestyle, listening to Life on the Swing Set and all the other non-monogamy podcasts, it's very, like, as much as they can push it being an open topic of conversation and like a regular thing you just go do.
Right.
To be safe and knowledgeable and in the know.
Yeah, it's more proactive than reactive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
right.
exactly.
Yeah. And so being the podcast that you chose to listen to kind of prepped you for that. It sounds like it wasn't as big of a fear of yours going in.
Yeah, I think, before the trip to Desire, we had never been tested, and that kind of feeds off what I was saying before, because, like, we, had maybe fooled around a bit, but, like, it's just not a thing that you're taught to think of.
Right.
As something you're supposed to do.
Especially when you're in a long-term relationship like the two of you are.
Yeah. And even though there was an occasional, outside little, playful thing that would happen, like unexpected, unplanned kind of thing. Getting fully tested, other than getting my, like, normal yearly, PAPs, which don't test you for STI, they test you for cancer, not STIs. You're not going to catch that. But, it just wasn't something that we had ever done. And so the first time we had been tested, through STDcheck.com, was...
Good plug.
It was like, 2 weeks before we flew out to Mexico?
Yeah, something like that.
It was right before the trip.
Yeah.
So that means that the date we had just before the trip, we actually didn't play directly with them, because we had that conversation. They were like, okay, well, we're not going to play, no offense, they were very sweet about it, but, like, we're not going to, swap since you guys haven't been tested, but,
Yeah, so we parallel played
with them.
Okay,
So,
because
it was compromise.
you haven't been tested.
Right, because we hadn't been tested.
Yeah.
So they were like, that's cool, but, like, that's how we're going to handle this tonight. If you guys want to play, it'll be, just some parallel fun, which was great.
I'm glad that they were able to do that. Like, they stood, just because you don't hear many people saying that, and you two weren't offended. You didn't take it wrong. Like, it turned into still be a fun and sexy night. And I think that's just more people need to be able to speak up when they feel uncomfortable. Talk about it. You don't have to be mean or judgmental.
Yeah.
You can be upfront, though.
And it's not one or the other either. It's not like either we full swap or we don't do anything.
Right.
Like, there's some arounds. Like,
Yeah, well, I think to Emma's point there, a lot of times you will hear people say, oh, we'd like to have this conversation, but then when the conversation is had, and it's like, clearly we're into this couple and they're into us, and then the conversation happens and the other couple's like, oh, well, we've never been tested. It's easy to brush that off and be like, well, shit, they're still really hot. I really want to have sex with them.
Yeah.
They'll get tested. We'll be fine. Like, to rationalize it in your brain, but that they were able to step back and say, hey, awesome, this probably won't be the last time we see you, and next time you'll be tested, and all systems are go. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that story.
Yeah, I actually thought that was worth sharing, because I thought that was really sweet of them.
Yeah.
They were very
cool.
Very welcoming and sweet and adaptable to the situation.
Yeah. So you went and got tested 2 weeks before going to Desire.
Yeah, it was like it might have even been a week. It was very close to when we were leaving.
I feel like you're just trying to say how quick the results come back on STD.
They do. They were very fast. It was the next night. We were at work. We were both working swing shift at the time, and we were actually working on the same machine together that night.
Yes. And then we got the text updates,
and we both
were in.
got the text updates on our phone, and he had his hands full, but I looked at my phone because I saw it, I heard it, or saw it buzz something up, and I was like, oh, I want to look at that. And I look at it, and I just go cold. I just instantly was crying, instantly, panic, full panic.
And you're at work, too.
And I'm at work, and I look at Orlando, and he looks at me, and he's like, oh, God, what? Because he can see my face. And I tell him, I walk over and tell him, I turn the machine off, and I'm like, we're going to go to the bathroom and look this up. So we went and looked at the results, and we read the emails, and we had pinged as having been exposed to HSV-1, which is cold sores. And it is like the most chill, mild STI you could possibly have, and almost everyone has it.
That's also true.
And we didn't know we had it because we're asymptomatic.
Yeah, neither of us has ever had a cold sore in our life. So, like, It did not, we were so sure that panel was going to come back completely nada, at all, nothing, because I just assumed if you had HSV-1 that you got cold sores occasionally and you would know. And since we never had one, I just assumed we were good.
Right.
And so we had, a minute. I washed my face, went back to work. We didn't really talk much the rest of the night. And then we got home and talked about it and looked it up on the internet and looked up what Dan Savage said about it. And we looked up what a bunch of other people we trust said about it.
I remember looking up the Ojoy sex toy.
The Ojoy sex toy comic. We calmed down a bit. We drank too much and kind of processed. We literally talked about canceling the trip.
Yeah, at one
point, we were like, should we just not even go? It's horrible. Yeah, no, that's the level of panic I was feeling.
Yeah.
I
remember saying, no, we're in too deep.
I mean, we're basically ground zero zombies in the apocalypse. Might as well just not even go.
Oh,
so much drama.
I'm sorry you felt like that.
I needed a couch to faint on. It was ridiculous. So yeah, that was that whole.
Well, I just want to point out how crazy that is, right? And not because you were feeling that way, but you literally had zero symptoms. Your life up until this point was completely the same, right? There was no symptoms. You were living life like you would any other day.
Yeah, literally
nothing. Right. Yeah, literally nothing changed, and now you're freaking out because of something that you've been told that you have or that you were exposed to that literally, again, is not changing your life in any way. You're not all of a sudden you're sick and you feel like it's just now you know. And I think that's just the craziest. I mean, that's the thing that's so frustrating about, especially, things like HSV-1 and HSV-2 is it was the stigma, right?
Yeah,
you were so afraid of it.
It's the reaction is all coming from how other people are going to treat me because of this.
Yes.
Not because of how it actually affects my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
And in reality, nobody really cared.
Yeah, so the other side of that being we calmed down, we went on the trip, obviously, because we'd already spent all the money. It's not like we're really going to cancel. And everyone that we played with, we had the conversation with, and I don't think we got even a reaction out of anyone about it.
Right.
Everybody was just like, okay.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for sharing that, because I think that's something that's important for people to hear is really, again, your life has not changed in any way other than now you know this thing, now you share it with people, and people were less likely to play with you having not been tested than having been tested and being tested and having tested reactive for HSV-1.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that says all that you need to say.
Right, yeah. Their reaction tells you everything you need to know.
Very true. You're never going wrong quoting Dan Savage.
I know. That's one of my favorites because it's so true. It's just so true. And yeah, I had some place that I didn't.
No, I mean,
went away.
And so since then, I mean, I guess it's been mostly either people you had met at Desire since then, but it sounds like really it's just been a pretty positive acceptance and reaction to that. And I think that's awesome. And it sounds like you had a hell of a good time anyways.
We really did.
Oh yeah.
And I happened to be observing at the share circle of an orgy that you had attended. I was not at it myself. I was just lurking in the bushes.
Well, that's creepy. We already covered that there's no creeping here.
No. But when you went around the circle, right, and everybody shared, and you shared that, and I don't think anybody even reacted, right? And I don't
think so either. And I was avoiding making eye contact because that was real awkward to push through, because doing the elevator speech is really new to us at that point, and especially in front of multiple other couples.
Right.
That was really hard, but healthy to learn how to do. But yeah, I don't feel like anyone cared or reacted either.
Well, and if someone would have been concerned, I hope that they would have been able to go talk to you about that.
Yeah.
And you would have been very welcoming about that, I'm assuming, and wanting to talk about it, because that's the way everyone feels more comfortable, right?
That actually brings something up. Someone from that night, actually the next day in the pool, did ask me about it.
Oh.
And I was like, well, the way I see it is, all I can do is disclose and let people decide. And honestly, it's just cold sores.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario. So all I can do is throw it out there and let people choose, because I don't have any control over it other than that. So
Yeah.
yeah. So someone did about it, but it was like in a very like, not in a creeped out way, not in a grossed out way at all. They were just like out of a curiosity kind of way of like, that must be hard, to talk about kind of approach.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad someone did, because it is not easy, A, to have an elevator speech, and B, when you have to disclose anything, it's you already feel like you have a stigma, or there's always there's already that stigma against it, that you have to disclose anything, and it's not easy. So thanks for being brave and coming on the trip first off, and then second, being honest.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Well, and we're so happy that you're healthy now, and you don't look like you're suffering in pain. You finally got out of bed. So maybe a little dramatic.
I know.
Full box of tissues. Oh no, I'm drama queen. You make fun of me for crying so much on the trip, but
I did not.
You just made fun of her at the beginning of this recording.
I was just worried that the pool was starting to overflow.
I'm hoping that I'll cry less this year.
It's okay.
That's my goal for this year, is to spend less time being sad about the trip being over before it's even over.
Oh yeah, that's hard. It's hard, but it's okay to cry too. It's okay to feel emotions. Yeah. It's a very emotional week.
There was a lot of people there willing to like be sweet and comforting to me, and I'm like, I'm not trying to take your time up from like sexy fun for you to have to comfort the crying girl. It's fine.
Well,
okay.
I have a lighter topic that I want to talk about. Okay. But again, thank you for sharing all of that, because it's super important. And we did make the shout out or the call out for a few weeks ago for people to reach out to us if they've had to disclose stuff, because up until now we haven't really had that on the show, and I think that's an important piece of normalizing it, is that people do have to go through that. And look at you, you're happy and healthy, and the worst part was what you thought people would say, and then they didn't say anything. So all right, I'll let it go. But what is something that you haven't experienced yet that you want to?
Ooh.
Several things for you.
A lot. There's a few things for me. I would like more girl-on-girl time. It's something that was part of my catalyst into this lifestyle, was there being opportunities to spend time with other women.
Right.
And it does get a little complicated when you're like a couple with another couple, because like I feel like I'm ignoring the guys if I pay too much attention to the woman, and then I'm distracted in my head about how the guys are just sitting there with their dicks in their hands, literally, and getting kind of ignored, and then I feel bad, and also like I also like men and want to pay attention to them too. Right. So it's hard to split your attention like that.
And 4 people in a room, you tend to pair off.
You do. It just tends to happen.
Yeah.
Like
maybe you need some time on a hot tub bed so they can be distracted in the hot tub, and you can have fun up there.
That's kind of a desired goal for this year, is a little bit more time and attention towards the ladies.
Right.
For me. I would also, something I want to work up to, it's probably not for this year, but down the road, would be DP. I think that'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
The look they're giving each other is super cute.
He's just like pervertedly grinning at me.
He just is hoping he's one of the two.
Shotgun?
I'm not a Volvo. What about you? Is there anything?
I can't think of anything specifically.
You're pretty gay for all of it.
Yeah. He's accomplished all of his lifestyle goals.
Yeah.
I had crushed it all in a
No,
week.
you're just pretty open to pretty much all things, so
Right.
it's kind of hard for you to pin down something specific.
Yeah.
How about what has been? Have you had any funny things happen?
Bloopers.
Yeah.
Bloopers.
During fun or just during, actually, it doesn't have to be, I guess, any funny adventures through trying non-monogamy and exploring it.
Well, other than the condom slips that do happen,
Yeah.
that are funny and awkward,
Times.
just like, well, good thing we all get tested.
Yeah.
And good thing we all have vasectomies in this room.
Right.
We did have one encounter the first time we had a couple over to our house for play. We have this old record player, and I went to plug it in to see if we could turn it on and use it, and we hadn't plugged it in or used it since we got it.
Basically.
And I just wasn't thinking. I was probably being nervous and goofy and I'm assuming, a little buzzed. And I plug it in, and it just immediately pops and starts smoking and smelling like just burnt plastic. And I was like, I'm going to burn this fucking house down with these people here. This is
Yeah.
the stupidest, most embarrassing thing. It was fine. Nothing happened. I opened the window and unplugged it, and it was fine. But like, it just smelled like burnt plastic in the room for the rest of the night.
Well, the record player's from the 20s, so.
Yeah, it's antique.
And it's been sitting there, so
Yeah.
it's a bunch of dust and old.
Yeah.
Pretty funny.
Yeah. And then, I've got one. I had an opportunity to play with a couple that we're seeing semi-regularly as a single male.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember I was having sex with her doggy style, and she had a vibrating butt plug in with the bullet vibe on the end, and she was going down her husband, and every time I thrust, it would click the thing on and off until we just started laughing and then just ditched it.
Yeah, it's like you go to turn it on and then it's like
Click,
on.
Click.
Wait, I can't get used to the sensation at all.
Click it back on.
Yeah, that's awkward. How funny.
Yeah. Oh, and there was that time that we did that parallel play, and then do you want to tell it?
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were parallel playing with a couple at their house, and we had a time frame where we were supposed to need to be done by, because they had a roommate who was also one of their sisters.
Yes.
A relative of one or the other of them, a younger sister of one or the other of them. And they definitely came home, right when things were getting good.
Yeah.
And we stopped because we heard the door open and close. It was like an old house with paper thin walls,
Right.
So we heard the door open and close, and we all stopped and looked at each other. And she was like, fuck it. We kept going. So their younger sister definitely knew everything that happened. There's no way they didn't hear that.
Yeah. So they came out to her that night.
Yeah. Whether they wanted to or not.
That would be
I guess that's
awkward.
about it.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. If you're going to come out to somebody, come out in style.
I forgot about that. That was a good one.
Yeah.
And you just quickly mentioned the condom slips, and I think that's important, like you said, to mention, because for it can be awkward and a little bit, some people, it can cause panic in people too when it happens, but another reason to get tested and have open lines of communication and
And to buy custom fit condoms from My One Condom.
Exactly.
That's right.
For men who don't want kids to get a vasectomy, pretty please.
Yes.
So, yeah.
You
Lots
don't
of
want them, or you already have them, or whatever.
Yeah. I'm glad I had a vasectomy when that happened.
Because I know I'm not the only woman that I know who has tried many, pretty much every form of birth control and had some kind of a problem with every one of them, physically.
Yeah.
And just basically can't be on it.
Right.
Yeah.
So Michelle, you're not on birth control.
No, if something happened with someone who didn't have a vasectomy, I'd have to run and get a plan B, or worst case scenario, get an abortion, which hopefully I'll never have to do. But yeah, that's where I'm at, because even the IUD, my body can. Which I hope doesn't sound just like super irresponsible on my part. It's definitely something that's like a well thought out choice I had to make about my body.
Oh, no,
Right.
I don't think it does, because you obviously tried everything. It doesn't work for you. And so you take other precautions.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, you're not the only person we've heard that story from. And we have some other friends of ours who she can't be on birth control. And so their rule is always
Always pull out. So basically, her husband was not allowed to finish inside of anybody because no guy was allowed to finish in her because she was not on birth control.
Okay, so there's like an equality agreement there.
Yeah,
well, but
that was their rule.
But they also had a 2 forms of birth control rule. And so it was condoms and pull out, or condoms and vasectomy.
Yeah.
So it was basically a redundancy on the birth control side of things, because she was not on birth control. So you're not alone.
For similar reasons as you.
Yeah.
I don't know with everyone, but I do know with like the majority of the people that we've been with do have vasectomies. A lot of people do. More people than I thought.
Right, yeah.
Like even people that are quite a bit younger, like, you know.
Yeah, like I got mine at 28.
Yeah, I think so.
And,
We should get a
Yeah.
vasectomy affiliate.
Yeah, don't go to his guy. He was a butcher.
Yeah, I did get my vasectomy through Planned Parenthood, but
It was free, so whatever.
the doctor they referred me to did not a great job.
And I felt like he was real judgy.
Yes.
Like looking at me like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, motherfucker, I'm sure." And also, it's his body. Look at him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you can make that decision at any age and whatever feels right to you. If you don't want kids or you already have as many kids as you want, then make that decision.
If I thought I could get a doctor to agree to give me a tubal, I would be getting one today. But it's not something that doctors will usually agree to do, unless you've had children. So, and we don't need to get into the sexist chat about that.
I was just gonna say that might take us into
That's a new episode.
A medical dive, and we don't need like a medical system.
Well, then maybe we give you the opportunity to mention any last things you want to mention. Any things you gotta tell us, and then we say goodnight.
I guess just people thinking about going on the trip or thinking about jumping in the lifestyle. Talk it to death. Talk it more than you think you need to, and then at a certain point, you have to have the attitude of like, try things. I recommend baby steps, but try things, and then just approach in the attitude of like, if we didn't like it, we don't have to do it again. Like, let's try it. Let's reconvene the next day, later that night or the next day at the most, and see how we felt about it. If it felt bad, we don't have to do it again.
I agree.
It's not like you're signing up for a lifetime of being in the lifestyle just because you try it.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work for you, then that's fine. You're not failing.
Right.
Yeah. Even if you get the lifetime membership on one of the dating sites, you don't have to be in it.
You don't have to log in. Yeah.
No, I think that's perfect advice.
Yeah, I think in life you regret the chances you didn't take more than the ones you did.
I would agree.
Also agree with that.
So.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for coming on and sharing everything, and for sharing a little bit about the fear and all that you had to go through, the unfounded fear of coming up with HSV1, and we're super happy that you were treated with respect and dignity moving forward. And
yeah,
me too.
Yeah.
We met a lot of quality people.
We did. We met a lot of close friends that I think we'll be friends with forever, whether the clothes stay on or not.
Right.
Yeah. Good. That's wonderful to hear. And yeah, I'm so happy that you came on and shared this story, and hopefully people listening will find some benefit in it too, of course. So
I hope so.
Yeah.
And maybe with that, we say, well, it's good night on our end, good afternoon on your end.
Yeah.
Yes, it has gotten dark, and now they can't see us anymore because we need to turn.
Yeah, you're kind of silhouettes.
See shapes.
This is my best. This is my best lighting.
I feel like my teeth light up when I smile.
All right. Well,
we'll turn on a light.
We will. Actually, that just made me think of really quick, and then we'll say goodnight. There was in the town we used to live in, there was this commercial for a plastic surgeon, and they were like, it was a radio commercial, and they were like, is your best lighting a dark room? Then maybe you need to get plastic surgery.
Oh my god.
So I am in my best lighting right now.
Right now in the dark.
So, all right. Well, you two have a wonderful afternoon, and we will be in touch.
Thank you. It's fun.
All right. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, we're back. Whoa, that got a little high.
A little high. I think it's because you're scared, because we're recording this in a dark room in the basement of our friend's house.
We are. We had to turn the light off because it was buzzing and made background noise.
Anywho, real quick, a couple of things. First of all, thank you again to Michelle and Orlando for sharing everything that they shared with us and sharing, just amazing conversation and resource for people who are looking to get into this. So thank you.
Yes. No, we're super excited that they were willing to come on the show.
I also wanted to include, there is a link in the show notes. If you want to learn more about HSV1 and HSV2, there's a link to the World Health Organization fact sheet on them. So you can kind of dig in a little more, fact check some of the stuff that was said today, and just learn more about what's going on.
Yeah. And if you want to reach out and share your story, please do. Not just for regarding STIs, but in general, you can contact us on our website. Next week,
normalizingnonmonogamy.com.
Yes, good job.
You're welcome. I remembered.
Next week, we have an interview with a couple, Stephanie and Jason. Right?
Yes.
Is that it?
Well, do you want to say anything else?
I was leaving you a chance to chime in. They are...
You know I don't interrupt you, so you can just finish your sentences.
They're a couple that is very new to the lifestyle as well, and just starting to explore this all.
Yeah, brand new, brand spanking new.
Right.
Mostly.
Yeah.
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 Okay, this is weird.
It's been weird for the last year and a half. All right. Let's get out of here. Remember, we're Finn and Emma.
Are we falling apart?
We fell apart. It's too dark in this room.
Okay.
To do what we knew.
See you all next week.